Now, there is, of course, no such thing as a perfect security system. But for the most part, the constantly improving set of protections we've built have managed to stay one step ahead of the bad guys. Long story short, iPhone's security approach has worked. But you don't have to take my word for it, because the security community regularly says things like this, quote, Apple's iOS devices are the most secure consumer hardware ever made. But let's look at some numbers, because when we compare iOS to other platforms, a clear story emerges. Here's a graph showing third-party data on malware infections by platform, and you can see iPhone barely registers. But the level of attacks on other platforms is a different story. One security firm found more than 5 million attacks per month on its clients using another mobile platform. But there's never been this kind of widespread consumer malware attack on iOS. Never. So what's the difference? Well, the single biggest reason is that other platforms allow sideloading. And on iPhone, sideloading would mean downloading software directly from the open internet or from third-party stores, bypassing the protections of the App Store. And we talked about the pillars that protect customers on iPhone. With sideloading, those layered protections are undone. There's no human app review and no single point of distribution for sideloaded apps. The floodgates are open for malware, and we're not the only ones who think this is risky, because the DMA has an admirable mission to promote competition and to make sure that consumers have choice. But as an engineer who wants iPhone to stay as secure as possible for our users, there is one part I worry about. And that's the provision that would require iPhone to allow sideloading. Because in the name of giving users more choice, that one provision would take away consumers' choice of a more secure platform. In a nutshell, sideloading is that unlocked side door. And requiring it on iPhone would give cyber criminals an easy point of entry into your device. And European policymakers have often been ahead of the curve. But requiring sideloading on iPhone would be a step backward. Even if you have no intention of sideloading, people are routinely coerced or tricked into doing it. And that's true across the board, even on platforms like Android that make sideloading somewhat difficult to do. Take this official-looking website, which looks like a government page where you can download an app to track the spread of COVID-19. They even provide official-looking instructions on how to download it. But after you download, you realize you've been had, because instead of an app, you have a healthy dose of ransomware. And this isn't hypothetical. This actually happened on Android. People who tried to do the right thing to protect their health and the health of others sideloaded an app that was a vehicle for malware. Another example, let's say that you decide to only download apps from the official App Store because you've decided that's the safest thing to do. Well, which store was that? Because one of cyber criminals' all-time favorite strategies is to mimic official app stores, leaving everyone totally confused. And this happens all the time. At one point, a security firm found 27 malicious apps that prompted users to download a fake Google Play Store, infecting their phones with adware. Criminals are clever, and they're really good at hiding in plain sight. But I wish this were the end of the story. But cyber criminals aren't the only ones we have to worry about. So let's say you go to the official App Store and you're looking for a social networking app that your friends are all on, but it isn't there because some social networking apps will probably try to avoid the pesky privacy protections of the App Store and only make their apps available via sideloading. Privacy features that go beyond the bare minimum legal standards, the ones that users truly rely on to keep their information safe, well, these would no longer exist for these apps. And you'd be stuck with the alternative of losing touch with your friends online or taking on the risks of sideloading. The fact is, one compromised device, including a mobile phone, can pose a threat to an entire network. Malware from sideloaded apps can jeopardize government systems, infect enterprise networks, public utilities, the list goes on. So even if you never sideload, your iPhone and data are less safe in a world where Apple is forced to allow it. Cyber criminals' targets and strategies vary, but here's what couldn't be more clear. Sideloading is a cyber criminal's best friend, and requiring that on iPhone would be a gold rush for the malware industry. That one provision in the DMA could force every iPhone user into a landscape of professional con artists constantly trying to fool them. iPhone's secure approach would be off the table, and everyone has to live in the less secure, more dangerous environment that sideloading creates. I think we'd be better off letting users choose between an iPhone with its security and privacy-first approach and other platforms that may allow sideloading.